Look who it is. Look who's finally showed up. It's Justin Haskins, part of the duo, Justin and Donald Save America. New episode coming at you. Justin, maybe we should start off with an explanation of your absence. I mean, they've seen me on at least one video, but all of our fans are like, "Where's Justin? Where's Justin?" Here he is.
No one
Explain
said
yourself.
that. No one cares.
I've
That's a
got
lie.
mail right here from our fans for you specifically.
That actually is true. That was mail, in fact. I thought you were going to die when you opened that package up for me, by the way. So thanks for
Well, that's the
one of the jobs that you have.
that's one of the, I'm like a bodyguard when it comes to all the
Yeah.
mail that's sent to the office for you. I get to test it out.
It's very true. Yeah, so the last the last month or so has been pretty eventful. A lot of, to say the least, a lot of stuff going on. My wife and I had our very first baby, adopted baby, newborn infant. We've never had a baby before, so this is a whole new experience for us. And that's been pretty much taking up all the time. As you know, that can be a time-consuming endeavor.
Everyone.
That's the story.
Whole story.
I wish I could give you more details, but there's really not much more to say. And it's just, I mean, I could get into the really nitty gritty details, but it's like pretty graphic and disgusting, just normal taking care of a little human being stuff.
Right.
And not much sleep. And so that plus, we've got other stuff we've been working on, other projects on the side and everything. And so the combination of that has just made things kind of a mess, but we are, people might notice behind me, if you're watching on YouTube, there's no bookshelves or anything like that. It's all gone. That's because I'm getting ready to move soon across the country. So that's also taking up quite a bit of my time. So, having the baby and moving and this gigantic project that we've been working on and just other normal work stuff, it's been busy. So
yeah. And he also, between all of these life events that are going on, you also find the time to dig around and through White House visitor logs and dig up what could potentially be like a pretty, scandalous discovery here, and which we're going to talk about on this episode of Justin and Donald Save America. Before we do jump into it, I do have to put that message out there to everyone that is watching this video that you can really help us out, help this channel grow just by doing a couple of things, couple easy things, just hitting the like button on this video, leaving a comment, sharing this video, hitting the subscribe button if you're not a subscriber yet. All of these things can help break through that big tech algorithm that prevents content like this from reaching more eyes. So it won't cost you a nickel, but it'll help us out immensely. So, Justin, where do you want to start with this thing? The little banner that I have at the bottom says White House secret meetings with BlackRock. Should we start off with BlackRock? Should we start off with how you even started to uncover this? Where do you want to go?
Yeah. So just real quick, just kind of a brief summary of what's been going on with this story. I don't really know. To be honest, I don't even know exactly how I came up with this idea. I can't even remember. But I had this idea at one moment in time where I thought, I wonder if the White House, because I know White House has visitor logs. There's visitor logs. Everyone who goes to the White House has to sign in, and it's all public record. Anybody can actually go to a website on whitehouse.gov, and we're going to pull that up if you're watching the YouTube video at some point. And show you it. But anyone can go on there and search people's names and see who's been visiting the White House. It's all public record. You can download files that have even more information on it than what's on the website. And so I had this idea because we've been focusing a lot on the Great Reset and looking at BlackRock and other big investment management firms like Vanguard and State Street and others, and their connection with the White House and with the Great Reset and all the public-private partnership coordination, all the stuff that's been going on as part of that Great Reset investigation we've been doing. And I had this thought, I wonder if anybody from BlackRock or from any of these big investment management firms, but we started with BlackRock because they're the biggest, has been going to the White House. And I want just one time, two times, I don't know, meeting with people. Who are they meeting with? What are they talking about? Just a thought that I had. And so I went on and I pulled this up and I started just looking at various people on BlackRock's leadership and see if they had visited the White House. That's really what this was. Now, why do I care what BlackRock is doing? Who cares about BlackRock? Who are they? Why do they matter? BlackRock is the largest investment management firm in the country, maybe in the whole world. I would argue they're the most powerful investment management firm in the world. They have about $10 trillion, trillion with a T, assets under their management. And they're one of the very few investment management firms that's allowed to operate in China. That's a relatively new development. Their head of BlackRock, a guy named Larry Fink, is one of the most well-connected people you could possibly imagine. There were some rumors that he might actually be appointed to be part of the Biden administration early on when Biden was figuring out who would be in the administration. I don't think he wanted it. I think he actually turned it down. That was sort of the rumor.
Good choice in hindsight.
Yeah, good choice in hindsight. He didn't want to be on that sinking ship, I guess. But he's incredibly powerful, incredibly well connected. He's on the board of trustees or the board of directors. I can't remember which one, at the World Economic Forum, which of course is the main Great Reset proponents that we've been talking about forever. And so Larry Fink is very powerful. BlackRock is very powerful. They own more stock than any company in the world. They are, which means when you own stock, you get to vote those shares, right? So they are incredibly powerful on Wall Street because they own so much stock. It's really not even their stock. It's stock that they buy using other people's money because they're an investment management firm, right? So people give them money, big institutions give them money, pension funds give them money, and they say, manage our money and make us a return. And they take that money and they buy stock with it, and then they vote the stock. So they have tons of power on Wall Street. They have tons of power in Washington. They are incredibly important and powerful, and a big proponent of the Great Reset, big proponent of ESG, social credit scores, and all of that. So you and I have been talking about BlackRock. We've known about BlackRock for a long time. Glenn Beck, when we've worked with him on this stuff, has been talking about BlackRock forever. So it's not crazy to think, well, we know that there's some good relationship between BlackRock and Joe Biden, at least some people in the Joe Biden administration and Joe Biden himself. Are they going there? Are they meeting there? That was the thought. That was the idea. So that was why I decided to start looking into it. And I found some pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah. So you were just kind of stabbing at the dark a little bit here.
Yeah. I mean, well, the thing is, for every one of these kind of things that I do, for every, this only actually works out once every 50 attempts, right? So I have.
So I don't hear about the other 49.
You don't hear about the other 50. They're much too embarrassing, honestly. I do this kind of thing all the time, just out of curiosity. And every once in a while, I go down a rabbit hole and I spend hours and it leads nowhere. And then every once in a while, I hit on something. And this was one of those times where I hit on it. And what we found was pretty incredible. So what I want to do is I want to actually show you some of what we found. Not all of it, obviously, but the stuff that's really easy to show, because I want you to be able to see it with your own eyes. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the White House Visitors Log website. We're going to pull it up here on the screen and scroll down into the area where you actually type in a name. And you can probably just do it, on the right side there. And I want you to search the name Thomas Donilon. All right. And Donilon is spelled Donilon. Okay. Now, what pops up, if you're looking at the screen here, what pops up is a bunch of entries in the White House Visitors Log for a guy named Thomas Donilon. Now, some of these names say Thomas E. Donilon. Some of them say Thomas N. Donilon. We're going to get to that a little bit later, because I think these are actually the same people. I don't know why the middle initial is N and E, depending on the entry. Most of them say Thomas E. Donilon. Thomas E. Donilon is, as soon as I saw this, and again, I'm just running names through this White House Visitors Log to see if anything pops up. I immediately was, the name Donilon stuck in my mind because I had remembered that there was a Donilon, or at least I thought I had remembered that there was a Donilon that worked in the White House who was a close confidant of Joe Biden. And he was another guy we were looking at closely when we were doing some Great Reset research and all of that. So who is Thomas Donilon? Thomas E. Donilon is the former national security advisor to Barack Obama. All right. So this guy was a very important national security figure in the Obama administration. Of course, Joe Biden was also in the Biden administration. The Obama Biden administration. So he knew Thomas Donilon from back in those days. Joe Biden, the rumor was that Joe Biden offered the job, or was very seriously considering offering the job, to Thomas E. Donilon to be the head of the CIA, the director of the CIA, and he turned that down. Okay, that's the rumor. So what is Thomas Donilon doing now? Well, Thomas Donilon works for BlackRock. Now, what does Thomas do at BlackRock? He is the chairman of something called the BlackRock Investment Institute. All right. Now, the BlackRock Investment Institute is sort of a think tank that exists within the BlackRock, the larger BlackRock umbrella. And their stated mission, so I've got it pulled up on the screen here for you. The stated mission is the BlackRock Investment Institute leverages the firm's expertise and generates proprietary research to provide insights on the global economy, markets, geopolitics, and long-term asset allocation. Okay, so don't gloss over that. Global economy, markets, geopolitics, all to help our clients and portfolio managers navigate financial markets. All right, so the purpose of this think tank is to give insights, investment advice to these major BlackRock clients based on what's going on in the geopolitical sphere, international relations, things related to those kinds of concepts, right? That's one of their big goals at the BlackRock Investment Institute. Thomas Donilon is the chairman of this BlackRock Investment Institute. All right. So go back to the White House visitors logs. So Thomas Donilon is going to the White House. And what we see from the White House visitors logs, which, by the way, are delayed, sometimes up to several months after these meetings supposedly occur. So it's possible that he's been meeting very recently as well, and we don't actually have access to those meetings. If you search the results here by the appointment start date or end date, it doesn't matter because it's usually the same date. And you just sort it. Yeah, there you go. What you see here is that Thomas Donilon is meeting. He has two meetings at the White House or three meetings in March, on March 3rd, all three of them. He's got another meeting on June 1st, another one on June 11th, another one on July 2nd, another one in October, another one in November. Then Thomas N. Donilon, again, I think it's the same person, went to the White House in December on the same day, with two different meetings, although one of those meetings I think is just sort of a big event because there's 180 people who supposedly attended it. All right. Most of these meetings, as you can see on the screen if you're watching the YouTube version of this, is one-on-one meetings. Sometimes there's two people, sometimes there's three people, but it's never more than three people other than that one meeting in December, which is obviously some kind of an event. The various people that he's meeting with here at the White House are all people who work either for the National Security Councils, these are national security people, or they're cabinet. There's a cabinet affairs office that deals with, things that are happening with various members of the presidential cabinet. And these are kind of like lower level or mid-level type people who he's meeting with that are in the Office of Cabinet Affairs. All right. Now, so a lot of national security meetings, a lot of meetings with people in cabinet affairs. That's basically what's going on here. All right. So I see all of this and I start looking up who these people are. And I think, well, that just in and of itself, before we go any deeper down the rabbit hole here, in and of itself is absolutely incredible. Okay. There's no record of any of these meetings that we know of. No one has said anything publicly as far as we're aware about what was going on in any of these meetings. We reached out for a comment from both BlackRock and the White House to find out what these meetings were about. Of course, they didn't respond to us. But this is a stunning thing just in and of itself, because Thomas Donilon is the head of a major component of BlackRock, the world's most powerful investment management firm. His job is to look at the geopolitical world and the national security world and international affairs and things like that, and provide investment advice to these major BlackRock clients. And he's having one-on-one meetings with national security people at the White House, where he used to serve as the head of the national, as the national security advisor, and knows many of these people. So you have to ask yourself, what are they having these conversations about? What is going on here? At the very least, it looks like this guy is gathering inside information from his contacts in the White House so that he can feed it to clients at BlackRock to help them make more money. That's what it looks like. I mean, maybe that's not what's going on, but that's certainly what it looks like. I can't think of any other reason why he would be having these kinds of meetings at the White House, right? Very suspicious just in and of itself.
Is that your you said that you can't think of anything else. Is there like a very nefarious explanation? You know, and I don't even know if I should say the word nefarious here, because, you know, you haven't really made the case that anything really underhanded is necessarily happening. I mean, can this just be explained by like, oh no, this is just standard? Yeah, no, they meet with guys like this all the time, or anything like that?
So I would argue, so I think I misspoke a little bit earlier when I said that I can't think of any other reason. I can think of other reasons, but they're all more nefarious, not less nefarious. Okay. I mean, if we want to get like more nefarious about things, it's possible that we could do that. Maybe BlackRock is kind of guiding some national security decision-making that's going on. Or maybe they're asking for BlackRock's opinion about national security matters. I mean, this guy was the national security advisor, and he is the head of the most powerful investment management firm in the world, arguably. So it wouldn't be crazy to speculate that maybe that's what's going on. I don't know. But as for just sort of a run-of-the-mill, you know, non-corrupt sort of reason for why these meetings would occur, no, I can't think of any reason why that would happen. These aren't public events, it doesn't seem. There's usually just one other person in the meeting, which, by the way, in and of itself is incredibly interesting. Just to show you that something weird is going on here. The people who he's meeting with are often, like I said, they're often either lower or mid-level people. Some of them we have no records on at all at any time within the past several years, for reasons that we can't really figure out. I mean, the White House publishes a list of people that work at the White House with their salaries and job titles and all of that stuff. Some of these people, one in particular, at least, Kimberly Lang, who's listed here, we can't find anything about her. Nothing. The last record we have about a Kimberly Lang comes from two places. The only records we could find come from two places. One is from a salary thing that was put out that shows that she was getting a salary, a relatively high level salary, 6 figures, working for the National Security Council back when Obama was president in like 2016. We can't find anything recent about her salary stuff, even though they've put out a report saying, here are the people that work at the White House. We can't figure out who she is from that information. All right. The other thing that's crazy about it is, the other area that we found her in, or the other piece of evidence we found that proves that she's an actual person, is all of the emails. And we didn't go looking for this. This is just what came up. The only other reference we could find were in the WikiLeaks, Hillary Clinton's WikiLeaks email database.
Oh, great. That's a great place to come up in.
Yeah, there are email chains where she's not necessarily the subject of it, but she's on the email chain, Kimberly Lang. So again, we don't know who she is, but we know that she's important, not just because she gets a pretty high paying salary and she's been in the national security realm at least a lot over the past decade or so, but also because we can see by searching Kimberly Lang in the White House visitor logs, we can see who else she's meeting with. And what we found was she's meeting with very, very high level national security people,
Wow.
like the head of the CIA, like I'm not saying someone who works at the CIA. I'm saying the head of the CIA, the head of various national security agencies, prominent people in the private sector, etc. She's meeting with hundreds of meetings, hundreds. I think Jack McFerrin, who works here at Heartland, he was digging through some of the stuff, and he told me that there were more than 300 meetings with Kimberly Lang and various people, many of them high-ranking people at the White House. So so who is she? We don't really know, but I don't think Kimberly, this is now we're getting really speculative, but I don't think that just this no-name person who no one has any clue who she is meeting with, that doesn't make sense that she's meeting with the head of the CIA, head of national security things, this major person at BlackRock, all these scholars from Harvard and other places are meeting with her. That doesn't really make any sense when you can't even find any basic information about her. Nothing, not even a LinkedIn, like nothing about her, right? So what we think is happening is that she's sort of the person they put down. She's a real person, I think, but I think she's maybe a secretary type level person or a coordinator or something along those lines. And there are probably other people in these meetings, but they don't want to list them. So they just list her, and they say it's a one-on-one meeting, when in reality, it's not a one-on-one meeting. There's probably other people there, but she's the one that they put down, or maybe she's the one that schedules the meetings, even though the database is very clear that that's not how it's supposed to work, but maybe she schedules the meeting, puts her own name down, and then it's the head of the CIA meeting with someone else, but they don't say that. That's my theory.
So it's like the Alan Smithy, where you just like a director doesn't actually like the film, so instead of putting his name, he puts Alan Smithy on there.
Yes, yeah.
Jane Doe. You met with Jane Doe. No, that sounds too fake. Put Kimberly Lang.
I think it's possible that that's exactly what's going on. So there's that. So this is the biggest part of the puzzle piece, right? But what we're seeing is there's these meetings. So let's just sort of recap. This guy, Thomas Donilon, his job is to get information, geopolitical, national security, international relations information to feed to investors to help them make more money or to prevent them from losing money. He is going to the White House numerous times throughout Joe Biden's first year in office, sometimes monthly. He's going June, he's going July. He doesn't go in August or September, but then he goes October, November, December. He goes 3 times in March, or he has 3 different meetings in March. And he's meeting all the time at the White House, and often with national security people or cabinet affairs people. We don't have any record of why they're doing it. No one will tell us why they're doing it. We can't get BlackRock to explain it to us. All right. That in and of itself is troubling. All right. But when you actually start looking at who Thomas Donilon is and his other connections to the White House, you realize there's even more to this that's likely going on here.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I've got some of this because in the very early on stages of this, I was just doing a little bit of Googling work for you. And so there's Thomas Donilon. He's got a brother named Mike Donilon, who's a senior advisor to Biden currently, right? He's
not just a senior, he's like one of the top 2 or 3 guys in the White House advisors for Biden.
Thomas Donilon's wife, Kathy Russell, is currently the director of White House Presidential Personnel Office.
She's so just to be clear, she left that position earlier this year to be the head of UNICEF at the United Nations. But for the whole first year of Biden's presidency, when all these meetings were happening, yes, she was the head of the White House Personnel Office.
And they also, Kathy and Thomas, have a daughter named Sarah Donilon, who is a White House serves on the White House National Security Council. So it's like the Donilons are like probably the most influential family that you've never heard of.
It's incredible. So this guy, who again works at BlackRock, who's having these meetings that no one knows anything about with national security people, whose job is to get national security information to feed to BlackRock clients, his wife, his daughter, and his brother all work at the White House. His daughter works in the national security sphere. His wife as you mentioned, the head of the White House personnel office, they're in charge of vetting the everyone who is nominated. For this is an incredibly powerful position that she was in. She's one of the key people in vetting and choosing who's going to be in the Biden administration. Her husband is a major player at BlackRock, right? I mean, that just in and of itself is also incredible. And then when you factor in that the brother also is one of the major players in the White House, it's just incredible. The other incredible thing about this, and bizarre thing about these meetings are, you say, okay, so his daughter works the National Security Council. His wife works as the head of the personnel office. His brother is a top advisor in the White House, right? And yet he never meets with any of them, according to the White House visitor logs, except for his wife. We think that's the name listed there as Thomas N. Donilon, not E. Donilon. So we don't know for sure that that's him, but we think it is him because he's meeting with his wife in a one-on-one meeting, and they have the exact same name. So what are the odds? It's just
a different Thomas Donilon.
Yeah, right. But think about that, right? You go to the White House, I don't know, 10 times, 11 times in a year, right? You don't work there. You go to the White House 11 times in a year or whatever, and you meet with all of these people, but you don't meet with your brother. You don't meet with your daughter, but you're meeting with other National Security Council people. You don't meet with your wife, except for at the very end when she's on the way out a few days before Christmas. You don't meet with any of these people when you go into the White House. That doesn't make any sense.
Sure.
I would, again, speculation, but I'd be willing to bet that he met with more than just the people who's listed here on this. Because again, the odds that you don't ever see your brother, you don't ever see your wife, you don't ever see your daughter, even though you're going to the White House, seems highly, highly, highly unlikely. All right.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
So the reason that I think that this matters so much is that it appears, and again, we can't know for sure because we don't know what happened in these meetings, and the White House won't even respond to our emails, and BlackRock won't either. But it appears that at the very least, there is an incredibly close tie between a top person a top person at BlackRock and a bunch of people in the White House.
Right.
Not only that, but he also worked with a bunch of the other people that work at the White House. We know that because he also worked with many of these people when he was in the Obama administration. So he's got other connections at the White House too, beyond just these people. We know that. That just in and of itself is disturbing. But then when you add to this picture the fact that we already have media reports that there are several people in the White House, at least 3 that I am aware of, top people in the White House who used to work for BlackRock and now they work in the White House. So you've got 3 people, including the person who used to be Larry Fink, the head of BlackRock's chief of staff, brief for I think a couple years, now works in the White House. You got all these people working in the White House. Plus, this guy has all these connections in the White House. What is going on here? That can't be a coincidence that these people are all just getting jobs at the White House and, it just so happens that it worked out that way. I mean, that seems pretty unlikely as well. So what are these people talking about? What are the purpose of these meetings? Why in the world would you even agree to do this if you're the White House? Because it looks bad. If anyone finds out about it, it just looks bad, right? I mean, this is the major player on Wall Street, and you're having secret meetings with them about, and you won't tell anyone about them, and they're not publicized or anything. That just in and of itself, at the very least, this looks really, really bad. I think it's probably worse than just looking bad, but I think at the very least, you can say for sure that it doesn't look good.
So a couple of thoughts. One is, we know just the government in general, any government, federal government is probably the worst example of this, but just this is strife with interest groups and lobbying and, anything like that. So does it shock me that somebody representing some massive asset management firm like BlackRock and whatever is going to the White House because they have access to it to try to get some information that maybe that they can use to their benefit to, this is all allegedly in speculation, put that warning out there. like none of that would really surprise me. I don't think that it's the most, like you said, it doesn't look great, for them if they're kind of caught doing this. But beyond like what you have found, is there any remaining puzzle pieces of this that could kind of unobscure the picture, clarify the picture a little bit better for you that you're just unable to obtain? I mean, I know that you've already reached out to the White House and BlackRock to see if they would have any comment, and you could read between the lines of their comment or their refusal to give comment. But outside of that, is there anything that you could, even like the people that are watching maybe that like might have some insight into something? Is there anything that you could hopefully grab onto that would give you any more clarification to this picture? Or do you think that this is pretty much as far as you're going to be able to get with this?
So I think there are a few places that we can go from here. One is there any sort of connection timeline wise between actions taken by BlackRock and these meetings? Okay. That's difficult because there are so many of them. So arguably you could just say, well, anything that happened that year, practically, you could say, well, they just had a meeting at BlackRock with
like
BlackRock.
Every 3 months they're there.
Right.
So.
I mean, they're there all the time. I mean, they were there in, like we said, they were there multiple times in June, twice in June, once in July, once in October, once in November, and then at least once in December. Plus they were there for 3 meetings in March. So, I mean, yeah, you can just almost, it's really hard to pinpoint, right? But maybe there's something there. Obviously, if there's any written communications that have been going on at all between Thomas Donilon and anybody in the White House, theoretically, that could be a subject of a FOIA request or something, which, we've been toying with the idea of going that route. It's not necessarily the easiest thing in the world to do. So we don't know if we're going to do it, but we obviously have other things going on. But I think that it's worth looking at that piece of it. Certainly there have been some major geopolitical events that happened during this period of time. The buildup to what was going on in Ukraine happened during the end of this period. That's when Putin was amassing troops on the Ukrainian border. Obviously, you had the disaster in Afghanistan that happened during this period. We also know, we haven't brought this up yet, but we also know that Larry Fink himself visited the White House. As far as we know, only once. And it happened in February. So after all of these meetings happened with Thomas Donilon, Larry Fink went to the White House in February and met with another very, very, very high level person in the White House, close advisor of Joe Biden. I think it was supposedly in a one-on-one meeting. And that happened in early February, just a couple of weeks before the Russian invasion of Ukraine. All right. Again, what was the point of that meeting? As far as we know, we can't find any media reports about it. Can't find any public statements about it. We asked the White House about it. They won't tell us. We asked BlackRock about it. They won't tell us. Why is the head of BlackRock meeting quietly with a top Biden advisor a couple of weeks before this invasion? Was it they wanted to know what was going on? Was it that they had advice? Was it about something totally unrelated to all of this? What we know for a fact, though, is that BlackRock has been a very good ally to the Biden administration throughout everything that's happened here. They've been huge advocates of ESG. They've been big supporters of the Great Reset. They've been big supporters of, using the private sector finance in all of that to push for the Biden administration's view on climate change and green energy policies and all that kind of stuff. And so clearly we know that they like Larry Fink because Larry Fink was reportedly on the short list to be the Treasury Secretary, I think was the position they were considering him for. So they obviously don't hate him, right? So we know there's a lot going on there. And we know that Larry Fink was one of the leaders after the invasion happened of Russia invading Ukraine. He was one of the leaders in the private sector of this massive movement to just gut Russia's economy, to try to destroy Russia's economy through the financial system and corporations and all of this other stuff. He put out huge public statements, letters, things like that, telling CEOs that they basically should not be engaged with Russia anymore, pulling financing from all kinds of stuff. He was very involved in that. Well, that's exactly what Joe Biden wants. I mean, that was all part of the Biden. And I'm not saying that's necessarily bad or good. We could talk about that another time. But the point is, they're doing a lot of the things that Biden would want. We also know that BlackRock was in a really, truly unprecedented move. BlackRock was essentially, I don't know if hired's the right word, because I don't know if they were actually paid, but they were entered into a partnership with the Federal Reserve Bank to help them buy corporate bonds on behalf of the Fed. The Fed went to BlackRock and said, we don't normally buy corporate bonds as part of a bailout type, or in this case, a sort of like a semi-stimulus type move, I guess you could say, trying to stabilize the financial system, right? And they said, we don't normally buy corporate bonds. Can you tell us what to do? Can you tell us who we should buy from? And this is widely reported. There was a Wall Street Journal report about this where they pointed out in the Wall Street Journal that they know for a fact that through this process, BlackRock basically made money, because by buying these corporate bonds that BlackRock was already invested in, it helped either stabilize prices or raise prices, and that benefited BlackRock. So there's a clear, close coordination between BlackRock and the Federal Reserve and potentially the White House. There's clear connections between the head of the BlackRock Investment Institute and national security people in the White House. There's regular meetings going on here that we don't know anything about. This is stunning. It's stunning. And really, there needs to be lots of questions about this.
Right.
No one's asking any questions. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get this. Jack and I wrote this long article about it. We're trying to get it published. I'm not going to name names about the people who have said they're not going to publish it, but let's just say, despite the fact that this seems like a pretty big story, we're not having the easiest time getting some of the bigger publications to agree to it, which is stunning.
It's very interesting. And as I read through the current version of the piece that you guys wrote, it was like, wow, no, there is a lot of smoke here. So I'm curious to see if you're ever able to actually peel back some of this and see if there is indeed fire. But no, it's a very interesting thing. So any other kind of last words? Should we wrap up this segment here?
Yeah, I mean, I do think it's important to stress, because I know that there'll be some people probably who are, maybe they don't like that. They weren't fans of the Trump administration, or maybe they're not fans of the Republican Party just in general. And they may say things like, well, just corruption everywhere. There's always corruption. And it's like, yeah, I get that. I'm not denying that. There is probably always corruption. And these kinds of things probably do happen with other administrations. They probably have. I'm not trying to say they haven't, but that doesn't mean that we ignore it because it happened in the past. And the other thing is, this is the largest asset management company in the world. They have $10 trillion under management. $10 trillion. They own more stock than anyone. Right. They have more power than almost any entity in the Western Hemisphere. It's probably the US government and then BlackRock. Okay. It's important, if there are secret meetings going on at the White House where they're discussing national security and there are close family relationships between top people at BlackRock and top people in the White House, and there's clearly access being given to these top people at BlackRock, that's something that we have to investigate and ask questions about. We can't just ignore that because, well, the government's corrupt. Yeah, the government's corrupt, but there's varying degrees of corruption. And this seems like a potentially, and maybe it isn't anything, but it seems like a potentially huge, huge story. And we need to get to the bottom of it.
Yep. All right, and I think that the only place that you're going to go to see an update on this story, if there's an update to give, is our channel, Stopping Socialism TV. Tune in to the next episode of Justin and Donald Save America. Maybe we'll be talking about this. Maybe we'll be talking about something else that is also being underreported and not talked about. So we're gonna do our best to bring you regular content. I think in the past I promised that we were gonna do better about it, and then we turned around and did worse about it. And I apologize for that. And I
Classic
will
us.
say that it's not because of us just doing nothing. We've got so many different things in the works. I mean, Justin's raising kids over here, but beyond that, we've got some really, really, really interesting stuff coming up that we can't really talk about in an official capacity quite yet. But I promise you that we're going to have some really good content for you on this channel moving forward. So make sure that you do all of those things that I mentioned at the onset of this video to help this content see more eyes. Hit that like button, hit that share button, leave a comment. Leaving a comment is actually something that improves the engagement rate of the episode. So if you leave a comment in there, that it helps break through those big tech algorithms and results in more people seeing this video in their suggested feed or something like that. So make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet, and make sure to go to stoppingsocialism.com and follow all of our different social medias if you want to get the content that way. Stopping Socialism on Facebook and Twitter and Getter and all of those different things. Justin, is there anything I'm leaving out? Anything you want to get off your chest before we wrap it up?
Nope.
All right, fantastic. On behalf of Justin, I am Donald Kendal. Thank you for joining us today. We'll talk to you next time.